blocking is not enough. Those of you acquainted with the world of narcissism know that regularly the antidote to the narcissist is the implementation and maintenance of a no-contact regime. Many people fail at no contact. There are two fundamental reasons why that is. First of all, they don't understand what total no contact means. Too often, people think that having no physical interaction with the narcissist and ignoring the narcissist hoovers amounts to a no contact regime. It does not. It doesn't even come anywhere close. And that's why they continue to experience problems in terms of not being able to get the narcissist out of their head, feelings of anger, upset, desire for revenge, fear, nervousness, anxiety, the inability it feels to prevent the narcissist from continuing to interfere in their lives. And it's because they are not implementing a total no-contact regime. Because I am what I am, I understand the ways that we look to get around your no-contact regime. This is done instinctively where lesser or mid-range narcissists are involved, or where the greater or ultra, the conscious approach, an awareness of how to get around the attempts to keep us away, the desire to keep us at bay. And that is why my information provides you with an unrivaled insight into the mind of our kind, our behaviours and characteristics, so that you can then benefit from it. It's all very well people who have had a brush with a narcissist and ensnarement with a narcissist to explain how they believe that you can keep the narcissist away. But there are fundamental issues with that. They're not experienced enough to know all of the ways that we will try to defeat your no contact. Moreover, some of these individuals, especially the ones that spend their time telling you how you should act and how you should deal with the narcissist, are unaware mid-range narcissists themselves, and they'll give you the wrong information because it's predicated from their desire, although they don't know it, to assert control. The second reason why so many people fail at no contact is they are misled by their emotional thinking into taking steps that they think are sensible which are not, that their emotions are hijacked to cause them to interact with the narcissist, and elevated emotional thinking hijacks certain empathic and narcissistic traits to the detriment of the victim. A lack of awareness of the fact that they have an addiction, a lack of awareness of the presence of emotional thinking, how it operates, what it does and how to spot it, all result in people's no-contact regimes being eroded from within. And this is why I explained that the implementation and maintenance of a no-contact regime is all about getting out, removing yourself from the narcissist and staying out, and that you fight a battle without, which is keeping the narcissist away from you, and then, which is often a harder battle, defeating the enemy within, keeping yourself away from the narcissist. Commonly, you are advised to block the narcissist left, right, and centre. And whilst that is useful advice in itself, far better than not blocking, of course, it does not go far enough. Blocking is only a part measure and, in many instances, will not be sufficient to defeat the narcissist. You need to go further. The simple fact is this. Where you keep open some form of electronic conduit, you are committing no-contact suicide, and you will be hoovered. Many people opt to block telephone numbers, setting email so that the email address of the narcissist is blocked so that it goes to spam, and blocking on social media. These are useful steps, but not useful enough. And your no-contact regime needs to be made as solid as it possibly can. And for many of you, you can actually achieve total no contact. Your emotional thinking will try and tell you that you can't, but you can. And if you are struggling, then consult with me and utilize my expertise to ensure that you implement that solid no-contact regime across those 5 arenas of interaction. I will listen to your circumstances, analyze the narcissist that you're dealing with through a narc detector, and then advise you across those 5 arenas of the exact steps that you need to take, tailor-made to your circumstances, so that you will forge a total no-contact regime. Furthermore, in instances where that cannot be achieved because of legitimate exceptions, for instance, a court order declaring that you have to have some involvement with your former spouse vis-à-vis the children, I can still provide you with the means to ensure that the narcissist is very much out of your hair. Utilize me in that regard. I am the expert. But when it comes to the issue of blocking, it isn't enough. Here's why. If you block our number on your telephone, first of all, it's far too easy for you to unblock us. You may fall prey to still high emotional thinking levels, which whisper away, trying to encourage you to undo your no-contact regime and to unblock. Just see if you'll get in touch, because your emotional thinking causes you to believe that you need the validation of a Hoover. Why hasn't he been in touch? Does he not care? You should not care about that, but your emotional thinking makes you think that you should. It makes you almost want the Hoover so that you continue to matter, because it hurts that you don't. And thus, if all you have done is block the narcissist, you run a significant risk of unblocking the narcissist far too readily and allowing the Hoover to occur. If you block us, it's simple enough for us to obtain a burner application or a burner phone and call you from that number. We know your number and we just call you from another. Yes, you might ignore the call, not recognizing the number, but there's a very good chance that you'll answer it. And if you see a text and you can work out that it's from us, of course, your emotional thinking rises because this is an interaction with the narcissist. Often, we respond in a benign way, and you're led, or rather misled, by your emotional thinking into thinking, well, he's being civil, I'll just be polite. Better to keep him on side. If I answer him, it will stop him coming round to the house. That's emotional thinking in itself. And therefore you end up responding. You might receive an unpleasant and hateful malign Hoover. Whereas, of course, if you had gone down an alternative route, that Hoover would not have gone through, meaning you would not have increased your emotional thinking, you would not have got upset, hurt, or angry about the content of that text because you would have never seen it, and you would then not have fallen prey to the likelihood of responding to it because you've been antagonized by what has been written, and your emotional thinking rises, compelling you to respond. Thus, you give fuel to the narcissist. If you block, all we will do is perhaps go and use another existing phone, borrowing a friend, and so you think that it is a mutual friend calling you until you hear the voice of the narcissist, and we've circumvented your no-contact regime. Or it also runs the risk of you being hoovered by proxy by somebody in the coterie of the narcissist who is given your number and calls on the narcissist's behalf to try and establish some kind of reconciliation between you. The answer is change your number. Don't rely on blocking. Yes, I appreciate that there comes a degree of inconvenience with doing this, that you need to notify people about your new number. But let's analyse it. You are not somebody who's going to have 400 different telephone numbers that you need to send your new number to. Members of your family, a handful of friends, some professional contacts perhaps. Even if it takes you an hour to advise these people of your new number, that is a step well worth taking to avoid hours, days, months of misery of the narcissist being able to hoover you and suck you back in some way. I appreciate that your telephone number might be heavily used for professional reasons, and therefore you are loath to change it because of the consequential impact upon your business. And I appreciate that, and you need to evaluate your position carefully in that regard. Changing the number is the most effective way, and for the most part, there is no excuse not to do so. Often, in consultation with people, they'll say, HG, I just can't change it. What you mean is, you won't. Your fingers still work, don't they? You've got the use of your voice. Then you're perfectly capable of changing your number. And all it is that your emotional thinking is making you believe that you shouldn't do so, that you still want to hear from the narcissist, but you have to fight back with logic. Why do you want to hear from somebody who has been abusing you and will continue to do so? Apply the logic. Exercise discipline. Show accountability to your no-contact regime and beat down that emotional thinking. What about with email? The difficulty is if you only block, it goes to spam and it sits there. And you wonder, has the narcissist contacted me? I'll just have a little look to see if he has in spam. That won't hurt if I just have a little look. You're already breaching your no-contact regime by thinking about the narcissist. If you go and look, you're breaching your no-contact regime further, and your emotional thinking starts to rise. And the likelihood is you will then go and look at that email. And once you start reading, you won't stop reading, meaning you're exposing yourself to potential harm by virtue of being insulted, upset, made to feel angry. You will increase your emotional thinking, and this in turn means that you're likely to respond, and then you'll give fuel. You've been dragged back in. If you don't look, you can't be tempted. And moreover, if there can't be any emails reaching you because you've changed your email address, so much the better. The effective thing to do with a personal email address is to close it. Again, I appreciate there'll be inconvenience because you may receive notifications from Netflix and your local food delivery in that regard, and you may need to make some administrative changes and advise people of a new email address. But again, to ensure that total no-contact regime, a little bit of effort in altering to closing down an email account and setting up a new one, it doesn't take long, and then updating various providers in that regard doesn't take much time at all, and is far preferable to the risks being run of receiving emails. Moreover, even if you block us and send it to spam, of course we wouldn't realise that you're not responding to our emails if you are managing to stay out of having a snoop in the spam folder. This means that we're likely then to shift to a different email address. There is one particular narcissist that is obsessed with me through my blog work, through my work on YouTube, and I set the individual to spam. And I merely go in the spam folder to collect up all of these emails and put them into another folder of evidence. They don't affect me because of what I am. If anything, I'm entertained. The only fact of this is the deluge that I receive becomes irritating because it clogs up my inbox for more important matters. But then I notice that the individual will create a new email address, which I then remove, and then they'll do another one. And this is what narcissists do. The narcissist is not getting a response, and therefore changes. I, of course, don't need to go no contact with these individuals because I'm not an empath, and the impact of them just provides me with evidence which I could use against them at an appropriate stage. Or, more likely, I'll just continue to ignore them because they are absolute nobodies. But for you, the situation is more dangerous. You risk giving fuel to the narcissist if you are compelled to reply, which means the narcissist wins. You may suffer an adverse consequence. It upsets you, makes you anxious, makes you angry to read what is being written, the lies, the barbed comments, the provocations, the baiting, and you will increase your emotional thinking, which could lead to further complications. And therefore, the better route for you is to ensure that no emails can reach you whatsoever, because you change your email address and the narcissist does not know about the new one. What about social media? Well, again, blocking is better than nothing, but it will not assist with the total no-contact regime. First of all, the narcissist may well be moved to utilize false profiles to hoover you because they know of the existence of your profile already. Furthermore, if your privacy settings have not been tightened up, the narcissist will still be able to snoop, utilizing a false profile even if they don't contact you, to have a look at what you're writing on your wall and utilize that intelligence against you, should that be necessary. Furthermore, the narcissist is able to persuade other people in their coterie to have a look on your profile, provide information, garner what you're up to. And of course, you can be hoovered by proxy, because again, a member of the coterie being encouraged to contact you under the auspices of trying to resolve matters, perhaps returning property or recovering money, etc. Ultimately, it is far better for you to stay off your social media profile, perhaps even closing it down altogether. Again, I appreciate this will create inconvenience for people who want to keep in touch with other individuals, enjoy reading on social media, and perhaps utilize it for business purposes. If, where you can, the most appropriate thing is to come off social media for a number of months. This means that you've got a more solid no-contact regime, and it gives you more time to lower your emotional thinking, so that should you return to it in a number of months, and perhaps you might not, perhaps preferring not to be involved in social media, but if you do return later on, with lowered emotional thinking, you'll be far more able to repel the false profiles should they crop up, the messages that come through which you recognise are from the narcissist, and they will have nowhere near as the same level of effect as they would do if you had received them earlier on in the start of your no-contact regime. A period of abstinence from social media is an important thing to do for the purposes of your no-contact regime. Think of it in a way as like going on a diet. You have to give up the pizza and the beer for a period of time before you get down to your ideal weight, and once you're at weight management rather than weight loss, you can have the pizza and the beer occasionally. You do not have to forego social media forever, but it is advantageous for the reasons that I have outlined to do so rather than blocking. Blocking serves a purpose. It, of course, will prevent a particular hoover coming through, but it doesn't take much effort on our part to shift to an alternative method to then hoover you electronically, because this doesn't expend a lot of energy on the part of the narcissist and is relatively simple to do. The risk of us doing that remains fairly high, and therefore, particularly in the early stages of your no-contact regime, rather than blocking, it should be removal, deletion, change. Change the number, change the email account, stay off social media. Also, staying off social media, of course, reduces the risk of you looking at the social media profile of the narcissist. And if you want to understand more about the dangers appertaining to the use of social media and how it impacts upon your no-contact regime, listen to the video, Stay on Social Media, Stay Stuck. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.